like the last comment I made, she replied something that was, I said, that she was spreading misinformation. And so it was like,
Evening.
basically on that, she says, well, you should
Hey, Mark.
say what that is. And I said, well, I can sit there and tell you what it is, but at this point in time, you've got your mind set.
Yeah.
Anything I say, it's not gonna make a
Good
difference.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd
I'm not
like to
gonna
call
sit
to
there and
order
argue
the
about
October 14th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Roll call, please, Gina.
Marco Gonzalez.
Here.
Mark Kleesner.
Here.
Mark Piontek.
Here.
Tom Holtmeyer. Mayor Hagedorn.
Here.
John Boardman.
Here.
Chuck Watson.
Here,
Chad Briggs.
Here.
Carolyn Witt. Here. Mike Wood.
Here.
Sarah Skeen.
Here.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from September 9th meeting. I'm trusting everyone's had a chance to read that.
the one correction.
Tom called me and I put you present and I put him absent. So Tom,
Okay.
thanks.
Because it was marked as I was absent. And I was,
Okay, very good. So that's been changed. There's some other
Yes.
grammatical and spelling things in there,
Okay.
but I don't know if you want to take time in the meeting to do that or just go through, I mean, I got them marked.
I
but-
can go through with you afterwards, John.
Okay, let's do that then.
Okay.
Any other commissioners have any questions on the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
motion to approve those changes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve our September 9th meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is file number 24-1002, special use permit at 1322 East Fifth Street, commercial use to residential use. Sarah?
Yes, good evening. As you can see, I'm having technical difficulties. Everything was ready to go, and then it wanted to reboot. Typically, it only takes a few minutes, but it looks like we're not getting very far. So, as you can see in your packet, you have an application for a residential use of a commercial building. Actually, in May of 2023, it was residential. They came and asked for rezoning, which we granted rezoning, but now they've changed their minds on the use, and they would like to rent it out as residential. And because of the zoning, C1, we do allow for residential use if it was previously residential, and the building is at least 50 years old, which it is. Franklin County data had given me a little bit of information. It was built in 1860, so you can, imagine it's a fairly old building if you're not familiar with the structure. It is a 1,000 square foot building, and it is a floor and a half, which I don't have bedrooms or anything, but I think it's 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and they'll be renting it out long-term. Garage, there's plenty of room for a driveway. I don't know if they are going to rebuild the garage. They took down the garage structure, but they're gonna have a driveway. And there is a alley abutting the back of the lot, so there's room for parking, so there won't be any on-street parking there. The applicant is here if there are any questions about that use, but that is the gist of that.
Any board comments or questions?
The only question I have is why originally was it, and why are you going back to residential?
Please state your name and address, please.
Angela Holmes, 113 Skyview Lane, Labadie, Missouri. So I know it's super confusing. Same face up here, different role. Last year I was here as representative of Cowboys Holdings, who owned the property at the time. Since then, again, really weird, I purchased the property, so today I'm here as the property owner. So as opposed to having a commercial property as a property manager for somebody who owns several properties, I'm now the owner and would like for my 86-year-old mother to live there. So that's kind of why I'm turning it back to residential.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Why a special use permit, though? Why not just go back and change the zoning from commercial back to what it was in residential?
Well, that's what I asked, and I'm acting on
Okay.
the advice of a city employee.
Yeah, just to keep the options open, since they do have the commercial, and then they can use it as residential, and then if they
Forever.
go back to commercial, then it would stay commercial. So a little bit more flexibility.
Any other questions from commissioners or from the owners? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Then if anyone doesn't have any other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Hold on. It's a public hearing. Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this? Now, okay. Keep me straight tonight, Counselor. Then I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we approve the special use permit for 1322 East Fifth Street. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3. Actually, 4. I'm sorry, 4. Correct. Thank you, Mayor. File number 24-1003, special use permit at 613 Jefferson Street for short-term rental.
Okay, so still no graphics for you, but this is a single-family home. The applicant is purchasing the home and is applying for the special use permit so that she can live in it part-time and rent it out part-time, probably in the summer. Again, it is in a commercial district, or it's an R2 overlay, but it's got commercial all around it, so it's kind of like a mix there on Jefferson. About a 70-foot driveway, so there's plenty of off-street parking to accommodate for guests. I don't have the information on how many she's planning on renting to, so I think she said she was going to make it. She can answer those questions when you're ready to ask those questions. As with any R2 overlays, short-term rental, it will have a buffer, will be required to have a buffer. Currently, we have like almost 500 feet between that location and the nearest buffer, so there's plenty of room for that. And then she'll just be required to keep up with the bed tax reports and have the annual inspection for occupancy. So, any questions on that special use permit?
Commissioners, any questions? Is the applicant here?
Applicant is here, yeah.
Do you have anything you would like to address with us? Please give us your name and address.
I'm Crystal Marshall. I'm currently living at 4400 Ridgefield Court in Villa Ridge. And the reason for the unit is it's currently, we did a little research. I'm in real estate. So I did a little research. I want to reinvest in my new town. I consider Washington my town. We will be living there during the winter. In the summer, I'd love to rent it out because of the things going on around here. Max 6 guests. It previously was used as commercial because it was a daycare, and it's right across from the distillery, so we felt that this was appropriate as far as zoning goes to have that use there instead of plopping a short-term rental in the middle of a neighborhood.
I see that the house is for sale now. Is that
Correct.
true?
That is true until tomorrow.
Oh.
Tomorrow we take possession, so.
Okay, thank you.
hoping to get that out.
Commissioners, anybody have any questions for the owner? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded that we approve special use permit for 613 Jefferson Street. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next item is item number 5, file number 24-1004, easement vacation, Washington Terrace. Sarah?
So that one was actually stricken off the agenda. I apologize. They are not going to be coming through with that vacation of that easement. They're changing up their site plan, so we're not going to be hearing that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Take that off my list. Then, moving on to item number 6. File number 24-1005, rezoning 900, 902, 904, 906 Westridge Drive, and 1311, 1313, 1319, and 1321 High Street, and Lot 1, West Ridge Jaspers subdivision.
Okay, still having issues, so, this is another pretty cut and dry. We have 5 parcels, 4 of them have duplexes on them, they were built in the 90s. We had code changes. I suspect that when we did our code changes, we no longer allowed those residential in the commercial district. He has 1 parcel that he wants to develop, but he can't because it's zoned commercial. And so he is coming to you today to have a rezoning approved. And let's see where we're at, because my computer gives me nothing. And I have to squint. Okay, so here they are. So here's what the duplexes look like. This is pretty much what he is going to build here on this empty lot. And again, you can see this pocket of commercial with duplexes on it. So we got R1A and R1B in the neighborhood, and then south we have commercial. Doesn't make any sense to keep that commercial. And the applicant is here, if you have any questions about that.
Is there going to be any site barrier between the commercial, the Napa?
Buffer?
Yeah,
Usually it's, if commercial's coming in and there's residential, commercial is responsible for putting in a buffer. He may do that just for his tenants. I'm not sure if he's going to come up to the podium. Gus, are you here?
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Gus Cagadiaris, 5401 Country Lane Court, Washington, Missouri.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe Chuck had a question.
I was just basically wondering, is there going to be any buffer between the commercial and the, are you planning anything, or is that, I guess part of it was to Sarah, was anything required, I guess, is.
Yeah, commercial to residential, yes, required. Yeah, but the commercial's already there, so,
Right, but that's, but basically, that's fine.
yeah. Yeah, so that would be a question of,
So he said he's open to putting some buffer. My name's Brian Sloan, I'm with EXP Realty, I'm this realtor. So, he'd be open to putting some landscaping buffer between and the existing commercial.
That's fine, it's just, my main question was just to Sarah, not really to him. Since it's just required if it's residential and you were putting commercial in, but the other way around, I can see that's probably going to be a requirement. Purchasers are going to want more than anything, but that's not required of us. Yeah, that was my main question.
Any other commissioners
I
have
go way
questions?
back. I was a neighbor when they developed that, when the farm sold, and they put in High Street. I lived on Tiffany and Ron, and they were going to put in apartments, and we came and asked for single-family housing, and they put the duplexes on the outside, and that's a perfect use for that lot, because the people who live there really, especially the one on the corner with the football players and all the flowers, it's really nice. I go by there all the time, so.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there aren't, is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak to this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Seconded to approve the rezoning of 900, 902, 904, 906 West Ridge Drive, and 1311, 1313, 1319, and 1321 High Street, and Lot 1, West Ridge Jaspers subdivision. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 7, discussion item. And the first thing I would like to talk about, I guess, with this is, first of all, I'm going to let the city councilor explain the process that we go through whenever the county gives us this type of information and makes a request. So, Councilor?
Thank you. Whenever there's a project that's proposed for rezoning or conditional use permit, which is what this is, and it's within 1.5 miles of the existing city limits, the city has the right to comment on that proposal, and that's all we can do, is provide comments to the Planning and Zoning, Franklin County Planning and Zoning Commission, which has this on its agenda tomorrow. Nothing that is said here is binding on the Planning and Zoning Commission in Franklin County. It's simply advisory only. So with that being said, there you go.
Okay, thank you. And how we're going to handle this tonight, we have a presenter that's going to present about a 15-minute presentation on the process so that everybody gets the facts and understands what's actually going on. And then if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak to our commission, you will have 3 minutes to make that comment. And we ask that you only comment on a new issue and not repeat a previous comment. So we can move this along and get everybody's comments into our minutes and then make a recommendation, if there are going to be any, to the County Planning and Zoning tomorrow evening. Is that okay with commissioners, everybody?
Yes. Makes sense.
Okay. So first we'll call the presenter up. Cameron?
Thank you all. My name is Cameron Lucan with Wunderlich Engineering and Surveying. I thank you for the opportunity to come speak to you about this application that's at Franklin County. So this is Vanguard Renewables. This is a conditional use permit. They are looking to operate a facility in Franklin County. So we'll go ahead and get into it. So the CUP is going to be on this map. Can you guys see the screen okay? Okay. So I don't have a pointer that I can point at, so I'm going to kind of be more narrative as I go along. But the CUP is highlighted in white. You can see it on Beaker Road, south of the city there. The project is currently zoned W, white, which is basically an agricultural area. So the purpose of the conditional use permit is to operate a methane gas capture facility. And what has triggered the CUP is that because it's 6 or more employees, that triggers the need for a conditional use permit, meaning that if it's 5 or less employees, there wouldn't need to be a conditional use permit because all the proposed actions in this W zoning district would be permitted. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's the 6 or more employees they need to operate this facility efficiently. There are 10 Vanguard employees proposed. We did have a community engagement meeting. Basically, prior to the meeting, we felt it was a good idea to have a community engagement meeting. This was held at Sunset Bluffs on September 24th. Invited the neighbors to discuss the process of this. So what's going on here with this? Methane. So this is from the U.S. Department of Energy. You can go on their website and look at this, but basically methane is a naturally occurring greenhouse gas. Wetlands are actually the Earth's largest natural source of methane, something I didn't know prior to doing this. I was surprised to learn a couple things. One, methane is 30 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And number two, the wetlands make up about 30% of the methane in our atmosphere. So also food waste and methane, what's the connection there? This is also on the EPA's website. As food breaks down, it releases methane. So thus the two kind of are coming together here. So Vanguard Renewables, they are in the business of creating these co-digestion facilities. These do have a history. There's 2016, Massachusetts, 2018. The company Vanguard Renewables started in Massachusetts, so that's the reason why we have these East Coast projects. Currently in 2024, there are 3 co-digestion projects under construction. As Vanguard looked at trying to build one of these plants, they researched Missouri, found that the Regal Dairy Farm has been around. So Vanguard, they want to partner with a proven farm. So Regal Dairy Farm has been a Franklin County farm for over 150 years. They're the 3rd largest dairy farm in Missouri. They are a member of the DFA Milk Cooperative. It's about 310 acres in this district where we're at. Right now, 100% of the manure is land applied, and so there's no process to their manure, raw manure. It's currently a very strong odor as it's land applied. And the dairy farm industry trends are such that the licensed dairy operations in in the nation, there's been over half of them lost since 2003. So about 32,000 dairies in the nation have been lost in the last 21 years. So I'm going to play a little presentation, kind of tells us about how to, oops, I skipped it here accidentally. Hang on, back up. It explains the anaerobic digestion. Maybe not. Hang on a second. Let me go back. I apologize. Okay, I'm going to click it one time. Here we go.
Up to 40% of food produced in the U.S. is thrown away, ending up in landfills or incinerators, and releasing methane and other harmful greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Cow manure on dairy farms also emits methane. Using anaerobic digestion, Vanguard Renewables reduces methane emissions by producing renewable natural gas from food waste and manure. The process begins when inedible food waste is collected and delivered to a local farm and enters the hydrolyzer. The waste is heated to 108 degrees for 5 days. Manure is collected from the barns and travels by pipe to the anaerobic digester, where it's combined with the food waste from the hydrolyzer. In the anaerobic digester, the combined waste streams are kept at 102 degrees for 30 days, while naturally occurring microbes from the manure digest the organic waste and emit biogas. The biogas is contained by the rubber membrane at the top of the anaerobic digester tank and extracted for purification in an upgrader where unwanted gases like CO2 and H2S are removed. The result is pipeline-quality renewable natural gas, which enters the existing gas pipeline infrastructure, providing local homes and businesses with renewable energy. Liquid remaining from the anaerobic digestion process is piped to the solid separation building, where it's divided into liquid and solids. The liquid is used as low-carbon liquid fertilizer for crops, replacing chemical fertilizer. The solids become clean, comfortable bedding for the cows. With the help of food and beverage waste providers, we're transforming harmful, inedible waste into a tool for fighting climate change and helping to sustain America's family farms.
Okay, so the next video is going to be about the Barway Farm. The Barway Farm is the farm Kurt Voss and I went to go visit. Before, I didn't know anything about this, obviously. Kurt didn't know anything about this, obviously. So before we decided to help Vanguard achieve this permit in the county, we wanted to figure out what this was going to be. So this is the farm we went to look at. So we're going to hear from the farmer. We're going to hear from a educator at Deerfield Academy north of this farm. And we're going to hear from a mayor.
Every farmer wants to be a better neighbor, a better steward of the land, and generationally viable. Vanguard Renewables' anaerobic digestion program creates a sustainable manure management system and minimizes farm odors. It also decreases the farm's dependence on chemical fertilizer and provides bedding for their herd.
With spreading manure, we took a crop of hay off and it was right around July 4th, we would hate to spread because of the neighbors. And now with the odor reduction, we rarely even think about when and where we spread the manure. And our neighbors have really noticed the difference.
My name's Toby Emerson. I teach at Deerfield Academy, environmental science, chemistry. When I first got here, I felt like the whole valley had a particularly strong odor. That's changed significantly since Peter started using the digestate to use as fertilizer in the field.
The program provides dairies with financial benefits that help the farm become more resilient to challenging market conditions. Since 2003, the U.S. has lost over half its licensed dairy operations. In 2022 alone, we lost 1,900 dairy farms. With the cost of milk production rising gradually in recent years and the price of milk falling compared to inflation for decades, many dairies have been forced to shut down.
We really just need to be diversified and have our operation not depend on just one income stream. And that's really where the digester's been really important to what, making us sustainable. As a lot of dairy farms have been really struggling.
While trucks are necessary to bring food and beverage materials to the farm neighbors experience little impact from deliveries.
Since the digester was put in several years ago, I haven't noticed any difference in truck traffic. We bike and run on this road almost every day, and I haven't seen a difference. I've noticed no difference in noise. I spend time fishing in the river and can't hear anything coming in and out of here at all. We talk about sustainability practices at Deerfield Academy. As a real life example, we come to this farm to show kids what a local farmer is doing to put back into the community. And it's an incredible educational opportunity.
I expected more traffic issues. I expected maybe some spillage once in a while when you're unloading. Odors, nothing. It's been outstanding. I couldn't speak more positively about it.
Did anything surprise you?
It surprised me that everything would happen the way everybody told me it would happen. That you won't have the traffic problems, that you won't have the odor. Everything they said they would do, they did. And then some. So I was extremely pleased, and I would recommend this to anybody.
Vanguard Renewables, supporting America's dairy farmers, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, minimizing odor, and enabling sustainable agriculture practices with safe, reliable technology.
Okay, so basically this is a schematic of what you just watched via video. So the co-digestion is of food waste and farm-only manure. It does produce renewable natural gas and low-odor fertilizer. So this farm is unique in the fact that this process requires three-phase power, a natural gas pipeline, a large dairy farm, road access, and proximity to food waste. So looking at the site plan, I know there's a lot to look at here. We can come back to this if we want to, but basically this is a site plan of how the site's laid out on about 11 acres. This is an overall site plan of where the CUP sits in relationship to existing gas lines, in relationship to the Regal Dairy Farm in the southeast corner, and in relationship to the existing farm manure lagoons on the southeast corner. So how it works is the farm manure is pumped via the red line to the hydrolyzer. It's processed in the digestate's processed in the digesters. It comes back via the Cayenne line to the purple area, the digestate holding area. After the methane gas is scrubbed and upgraded to pipeline quality gas, it goes out via to the southwest along an adjoining pipeline in the purple back to the Spire gas line. Spire and Vanguard have already spoken about that interconnection agreement. The operations would be from Monday through Friday, 6 to 6. On Saturday, 6 to 12. It'd be 10 employees. It'd be 25 food truck deliveries. It'd be gate or fenced. That means the public can't get in there. It's a non-discharge system. There's no discharge. When you think of your wastewater treatment facility, there's a discharge. There's no discharge here. The benefits is that it diverts 290 tons of food waste day from landfills. It's agricultural preservation, meeting the goal of the county. It's renewable natural gas sold to utility. It's very low odor fertilizer. Reduced on-farm emissions. It's a diversified income stream for the farmer, helping to propagate the farm, another goal of the county. Lower the farm operational costs, less fertilizer, increase in the county tax base. So let's talk about that. So through our community engagement, we had concerns of the public, increased traffic. We had CBB, a MoDOT recognized traffic analyst from St. Louis, analyze this. They did a count on Beaker Road. Currently, Beaker Road has about 1,200 vehicles per day. That consists of different types of vehicles. I provided that traffic study to Charles to review the traffic study. He didn't see any issues related to that. There'd be 70 additional vehicles per day proposed, comprised of 20 passenger and 50 trucks. That's the CBB. So basically their analyzation was the Beaker Road cross-section is adequate to accommodate proposed development. The facility traffic traveling, so another thing is that these trucks will be arriving from the St. Louis market primarily, and so it's traveling opposite the direction of traffic at peak time. So the traffic flow is opposite during peak times. Roadway condition. There was a concern about the roadway condition, so this food waste is less dense typically than a typical payload. If you think about food, if you think about lemons or salad or lettuce or carrots or whatever, some of the things we saw at this organics recycling facility, it's less dense. So is the county tax proportional to roadway use? We'll get into that. So basically it's going to be an increase of about 5.5%. So what does that look like in taxes? So at a $10 million assessment, it's about $20,000 in road tax a year. What's that look like with other taxes? At about the projected $10 million assessment value. When you look at these rates on your lower right, you'll see the road, as I mentioned, about $20,000. The fires, about $26,000. College, $44,000. The big ones, the schools, obviously everyone knows, right about $400,000. So are they paying their fair share? Is Vanguard paying their fair share? And there's no TIF, there's no tax abatement being asked for, none of that. They're paying their fair share, we feel like. Odor, so as the guy talked about, the receiving, so when the facility, or so when the tractor trailer goes in the Aura, the doors come down, it's negative pressure, they have a big biofilter to reduce the odor. So it's accompanied by an odor reduction process in the Aura. The finished digestate has a very low odor. As we mentioned, there's a pretty strong odor out there right now when they apply manure, but this will make it better. Kurt Voss can testify how he's a neighbor. So he went with us, like I said, to that Barway Deerfield Academy farm. Let's see, let me make sure to skip a slide here. Yeah. So other concerns of the public, fire hazard. So I spoke with Tim Frankenberg about the methane natural gas facilities. Basically he didn't seem to be concerned about it other than we built to the county standards of what they need. In conclusion, it's agricultural preservation in the county, converts waste into useful products, increases farm stability, less susceptible to farm market volatility when milk goes from $23 a hundred to $15 a hundred or whatever might happen. Reduces existing farm odor. It's a methane gas capture, reduces emissions of the landfill waste headed to landfill, and the manure on site. Fossil fuel conversation captures renewable natural gas. Proven technology, reputable company. When Regals, there was about a 2-year process, the Regals and Vanguard making sure that each other were good partners with each other. Vanguard wanted to make sure Regals had what they needed. Regals wanted to make sure Vanguard had what they needed. So it's an opportunity for Franklin County to lead the way in farm-powered renewable energy. Any questions for me or about anything you saw while I'm up here? So Kurt Voss is here, 3 members of Vanguard's here, the Regals are here. So we've got everybody here to answer any questions you guys have.
Commissioners?
Very nice job, thank you.
Thank you.
That was good.
So we'll poll the commissioners first, and if anybody has any questions for Cameron or any of the other gentlemen, we'll do that first. Okay? Commissioners, anybody? If not, I have some.
Yes.
Surprise, right?
Right.
You can count on John.
First of all, H2S and CO2.
Right.
About how much is generated and where does that go?
Right. So Will with Vanguard is here to speak on that. I'm going to let Will come up and speak about that because I don't specifically know.
Okay. Please state your name and the company again that you're with for the record.
Yep, Will Hutchinson. I'm a director of development at Vanguard Renewables. I don't have an answer on the exact numbers that you asked for, but the CO2 and H2S is a byproduct of the upgrading process. So the RNG off the digesters is about 55% methane, about 20% CO2, and then the rest is smaller bits, oxygen and H2S. The process, again, simplified, it scrubs of the impurities, so we end up with 99% methane gas, which is the pipeline quality gas. The H2S that comes off actually comes off in like a cake-like form, and then is disposed of, per all EPA regulations. And then the CO2 is either emitted via tailpipe, or what we're looking to is capturing that CO2 and then again either liquefying it or bottling it for sale.
Okay. And then while you're up here, I'll go to my next question. The food providers, where are they coming from?
Yep. So mainly the St. Louis market. So we look at grocery stores, food manufacturers. We look at companies that haul off fats, oils, and greases. So all of this is organic material that has not been processed. It has not been disposed of by companies or humans for that matter. So a lot of this we consider like pre-consumer food waste, rotten food off the shelves, out of spec food that came off a plant and couldn't make it to the shelves. So food waste of that sorts. And then, sorry, to answer your question too, is St. Louis market, and then we'll pull from, also regional markets, as we, collect our waste and go out and contract it.
Okay. And then I saw in the picture where there was a picture of a truck unloading, I'm assuming. Is that the type of design truck it would be? And
it'd be a mix of tankers, box trucks, and trailers.
So it won't all be tankers and tandem axle.
So we take
tractor
both
trailers.
liquid and solid food waste.
Okay, so you would have some smaller box trucks and things like that, not just the bigger tractor trailers.
Yep. So our estimated truck traffic per day is typically, a presumed mix of those trucks.
Okay. Question 2 after you're done, John. That's all the questions I had. Did anybody else?
The only
Yes,
question,
please.
so with the now like methane gas that'll be developed with the high utilizer, whatever it's called, what I guess is like the taxes or what's the money that's going back in the county ultimately? Because I think that's a really relevant piece. Or what's the expected amount of methane that's going to be coming from this plant that's going to go towards the county?
So we produce per year around 280,000 decatherms of gas. Again, I don't have exactly what that could power specific to the county, but it is, a sizable amount of renewable gas being produced. And then on the tax base, again, as we showed, I think on a previous slide, right now this is farm base or farmland being based as tax. So we're changing that to an industrial use that is going to significantly increase the tax coming in. And we're not looking for, again, any abatements or programs to do. So we're going to just, as this gets zoned and appraised, pay those taxes.
Great.
I've got another question, but go ahead, Mayor.
Just to be sure, I think everybody's curious and concerned with the traffic. Those figures you quoted, 25 trucks, and that means there's 50 segments, one segment going, one segment back. The same with the 10 employees, one segment going, one segment back, for a total of 70 segments, but it's 25 trucks that will enter the treatment.
Correct. So we're assuming 25. I know recently I was quoted to say 20 to 30, and that's where we land on this 25. We've seen at our other projects that is kind of the sweet spot. And again, it depends on what we contract for food waste. It could be 20 trucks, it could be less depending on what we're bringing in. But the mix we see of box, trailer, and tanker is typically in that 25 trucks range.
Thank you.
So 2 questions since this discussion's going on. Have you researched the St. Louis market to determine if you in fact have that much product that you could bring here?
We have. And so we actually, the way we set it up is knowing that there's actually more food waste in the market that we can actually take, which means that we have a viable project here. So we currently do have a regional salesperson out of Kansas City who's taking over this market. And as we move closer to the operation of the project, we'll have all of that feedstock secured.
Okay, and then on the other, I saw in one of the slides where you were showing the gas pipeline going to the Spire pipeline. Will that be what size pipe and under what pressure is that going to that facility? Do you know?
We're still working with Spire on that. We're meeting with them tomorrow, but typically, and the way it works is that Spire will actually take custody of the line off of our site. So Spire will be owning, maintaining, and operating that pipeline or that lateral to their pipeline. Typically what we see is 4-inch steel, high pressure.
Okay, that's
Around
what I was,
800
that's what,
MAOP.
if Spire's doing it, then I'm not concerned about it at all, so, okay, very good. Any other commissioners?
I have one question, please. Getting back to the traffic situation, just wondering if you could maybe research different routes that would lead you through a less residential area for your routes coming in and out.
Yeah, it's
There's
something.
a back way that I think is far less traffic, through a residential area than it would be coming from Highway 47.
And it's something we're more than happy to look into. What we show is our preferred route. When we contract with our feedstock haulers, again, we're contracting their route, their hours, and all the other kind of rules that relate to our operation. So we're more than happy to work with, again, the city, the county, to make sure that we're taking the preferred truck traffic routes for us and the people who live here. So.
If possible. Thank you.
On average, how many more trucks per hour do you think it would be? Like, do you think it's 10 an hour, or do you think, do you have certain hours you're gonna operate that the trucks will be coming, or is it gonna be all day? So, like, on average, is it 2 per hour, 4 per hour?
It's around 4, a little over 4 per hour. Most of our deliveries are towards the morning. Typically the waste is hauled out of plants in the morning at start of day and start of operation. So a majority of our waste comes kind of before the noon hours, and then deliveries are sparse after that. But the actual work on the plant is still ongoing. So
Thank you.
I'd say around 4, a little over per hour.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Thank you.
Yep.
Stay close.
Thanks.
So, we will open this up for the public hearing and comment section. As I said in the beginning, we're going to limit speakers to 3 minutes. The mayor has a timer that we will run. And please limit your comments to that 3 minutes and do it politely and professionally. And we will try to hear as many as we can. And again, I remind you to try to speak on a different topic than what's already been spoken on. So we can hear all of the comments that are related to this, but we don't want to hear duplicates necessarily. So we really don't want to be here till midnight tonight, and I'm sure you don't either. So with that in mind, when you come to the podium, please state your name and address and be ready to present if anyone would like to speak. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tom Ranieri from 2901 Graham Road. And it addresses some of the things you said, John, earlier. But the main thing is the traffic. And I'm a renewable source person. I'm all for renewable energy. So that part of it, I'm behind these guys on. But it's the traffic that we worry about. And as far as the council, the planning commission goes, you guys are gonna have to get involved in the traffic manipulation of the different roads. If they go up Biker Road to 47, that intersection there is gonna be a mess. We all know it. If you drive it now, you can't get through it hardly at all. But if they go up South Point, that's gonna go right into our shopping area up there. So both those areas are gonna be pretty good, pretty bad. And South Point, a lot more residential in that area. But if you guys said you don't have to get involved, or you can't get involved with the county because it's outside the city parameters. But the roads that you're gonna have to change and manipulate, they are your responsibility, our responsibility to pay for. So I think we should get involved in it, and you guys should have a say on what's gonna happen. When Vanguard goes ahead and puts this thing through, they're gonna have to support some intersect changes that's gonna help the flow of traffic, because otherwise it's gonna be a mess. 70 cars a day, or like you said, or 70 trucks a day is gonna be enough to make it really bad for that one intersection at Highway 47, because you can't get through there now with normal traffic. So, anyways, that's just what I want to say about it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will just say from that aspect is we, and like the counselor said, we can only recommend. So just understand that. All we can do is put recommendations down, and then we're just like you guys are at the county level. We just go over there and present, and that's all we really have any say over there also. So, who would like to go next? Yes, sir.
Bruce Lindeman from 13 Winona Drive. I think the need for this has been well presented, and my concern and some of the research I've done since learning of this is I've read in the past that these facilities are prone to failure, and it's not uncommon, it's quite common. And maybe that's old technology, maybe the technology is newer, better, more reliable today, but everything breaks down. Everything has a failure rate, whatever it is. And like I say, my research shows that these are fairly common failures. What exactly fails, I don't know. But it releases methane, it's kind of catastrophic. Things have to be done quickly and fast. And I haven't heard anybody speak to the reaction times in the event of a failure and what's involved and how long a repair takes. I did read that repair and maintenance of these facilities is quite costly, and what kind of costs are involved in that, or is the technology such that it's all moot now? So that's all.
Thank you. We'll bring them back up and ask those questions. Yes, who's next? Lady in the back of the room, she had her hand up first, sir.
My name is Donna Long.
Please pull the microphone down.
Oh,
There you
because
go.
I'm short.
That's okay.
My name is Donna Long, and if you could pull up the map, I can show you where I live. My address is 203 Hickory Hill Road, Washington, Missouri. I bought this house 3 years ago. This has been in the works for 4 years. I would have never bought this house to live next to a bio dump. But let's go about the bio dump, because if we fast forward 20 years, everything is not fine. In Emerald Township in Wisconsin, after 2 years of operation, the digester in the water treatment system exploded and burned up, never to be used again. The new town hall well nearby is currently undrinkable. Nitrates increased 6-fold in just 15 years, and consistently tests were 3 and 4 times higher. Are they going to test our wells? I, for one, if this goes through, there's a for sale sign in my yard. I will not live next to a bio dump. And you know what? Your beautiful town of Washington, do you think, and I don't know where Pat Long is that bought Sunset Bluffs that my son developed, who's going to want to have a wedding next to a bio dump? So the dairy farms aren't doing so well. I get that. And I told my ex-son-in-law, I see somebody over there and they're surveying. I hope you're not going to have homes. You know what? I welcome homes. And won't homes, he could sell that for $20,000 an acre. He has, 300 acres there? Sell it for $20,000 an acre, develop it, put half-acre lots of homes. How much will the tax dollars bring your township? And it's going to keep Washington, Missouri as the quaint, beautiful town that it is. But once the word gets out, you have a bio dump in your town, who wants to come visit? Not I. When these things do fail, and they will, because it happened in Ohio, I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vanguard, because I'm sure you know where all of them are. In 3 years, they sued the town, and they won, because if I stay there, I won't be able to go outside and smell the air. They couldn't use their property that was nearby because of the smell, and they won after suing them for 3 or 4 years. And if I'm incorrect, please tell me. But I'm not going to live by there, and I don't know who would keep their home next to a bio dump if it does explode, or if the testing or whatever, the stuff in the air, who's testing that? You know, is it going to cause us cancer? These are things you really need to think about. This is your town. I mean, and everybody's proud to be a Washingtonian. Oh, you won't be anymore. That's all I have to say.
Yes, sir.
Bill Mayhew, 6342 Middle Lake Drive, Washington. I have one question. In reference to the National Environmental Policy Act, have you all done an environmental assessment on this project? Secondly, I guess I have more than one question. Is one required? And if not, why not? That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Come on up.
Gregory Etter, 1018 Varden Meadows Drive, Union. I was speaking I'm actually a environmental engineer and professional engineer, so have some familiarity with this. I was looking into, now in some operation like this, one of the elements that, in terms of switching how the manure is used, is that it would also minimize stormwater flow from, say, the manure piles into the creek, since it's right next to one of the creeks that ultimately go to next to the City of Washington wastewater treatment system. So, because one of the problems with agricultural waste would be BOD, COD, dissolved oxygen that could eutrophize the creek, and that could cause would cause water quality. And an operation like this would reduce that. And then in terms of like release risk and other things, I would also have to note that in recent months, the EPA promulgated rules for facility response plan requirements, not that cover any sort of hazardous materials above certain reportable quantity thresholds that would come into facilities would be required to do it by mid-2027. So I'm assuming that this would probably be applicable based on the volumes of methane and potentially some other components that would be at this facility. So in terms of some of the release concerns, there are some upcoming EPA regulations that would require proper planning and coordination with response agencies to address this issue. So I just wanted to make sure that kind of this gets known to people on some of the regulatory sides and just some environmental technical details that would come up from this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Larry Primsey, everybody calls me Cowboy. I live at 101 Skyview Lane in Labadie. I don't live in Washington, but you all know I own a lot of property here. Two things. One, I was kind of vaguely curious what the approximate cost of this is. And I'd like to point out that these people that are making this investment here are not doing this haphazardly. If they thought it was going to blow up or some of these other things that have been stated here, I fail to understand why they would invest tens of millions of dollars in something they thought was going to fail. The other question, or the other point that I was going to make is about the traffic. The count on that road is 1,200 a day. If you add 70, that's almost minuscule in the terms of the normal growth pattern of almost any road, just by adding houses or developing. And I think that everybody that's on the road commission in the county, I think they're well aware of how to plan for that, and they've said that. If you paid attention to the part that he showed there, that they've researched that. So I don't think that's quite as big an issue as somebody thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Long, address is 984 Charette Lane in Washington. I have lived next to Regal Dairy, though. I was actually married to a Regal sitting out here in the audience. But my mom was up here earlier in the red skirt, I believe, or top. She lives just south of what's in the map. And I invite Cowboy to purchase my mom's house. Do you want to live there? Really? Do you see that digestate sitting right there, right across the way? And
Please address the commission.
I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Might I note that everything, they keep talking about the smell. The smell is not bad now. I have a keen sense of smell, and my brother owns Sunset Bluffs. My mom owns the house just south of Sunset Bluffs right now. My ex-husband and I bought a house just to the north of Regal Dairy, and we've never had a problem with the smell, other than maybe the 4 times a year that they spread, manure on the fields. It's not a big deal. It's maybe 3 weeks out of a year. But now we're facing all year long, and that's not okay. To smell that manure smell with bio-waste added in, we don't know what that's going to smell like. We haven't traveled out to Massachusetts or Vermont. Let me tell you, we're probably about to, but I don't even think my mom cares to even know, because that digester is right across the way, and then there's all the traffic that's going to happen, and then the smell. They haven't even talked about the noise. Did they talk about the noise in their presentation? No, they didn't. It's grinding. They're going to be constantly grinding and meshing up the manure with the bio waste, the food that's coming from St. Louis. And what other markets are they coming from? They just tell you regional. What's regional to Vanguard or BlackRock? Did they tell you that BlackRock owns Vanguard and bought them 2 years ago? Do you really want BlackRock in your backyard? Do your research.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Susan Gorell, 1885 Beaker, right across the road from the farm. After watching that slideshow, I think we should have a digester at the fair, get all that waste too. But who's gonna monitor my well water? Who's gonna monitor the air? Because it might reduce something, but it's gonna increase greenhouse gases. They make it sound all cherry and everything. They're not in here just to make friends here, buddy. They're here to make money, and they're getting subsidies from the government to all our tax dollars to make money and screw us all up out there, because that'll be a big mistake moving that out there. Why can't they go to the industrial park, ship it out? They're going to truck it in, truck it out there.
Thank you. Sir?
Gary Winger, 9 Winona Drive. Are you talking about the trucks? I'm sure the trucks right now, they're saying 25, but a year or two, they'll probably be 50. Beaker Road does not have a good entrance down there. I live down on Rabbit Trail and Winona Drive. That road is going to be the shortest cut there, and that road is not going to take any traffic. Right now, it's overburdened. And as far as property values, they're going to go down. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Good evening, Rebecca Volkerding, 1929 Beaker Road. I didn't really plan to speak tonight, but just wanted to say that we were invited. I was part of the group of neighbors that were invited to the community gathering to learn more about this. It's been really nice to be able to talk to Regals and Vanguard at that gathering. People talked about who's going to monitor ground or air. They did cover that. Vanguard kind of presented that and said that they had monitoring processes in place that they do at all the other locations that they have. They actually even said too that they have some, I think, and maybe don't quote me, but I think that they said they had on-person monitors that they even have for the people that work there, because they're there all the time, so they can monitor the air. Because obviously, like the one gentleman said, they don't want anything to happen to their investment, their plant, or their people, that is important. They have emergency switches that can turn off all the processes at just a push of a button around the facility, which I used to work at a brewery, so I kind of know those safety buttons are important. But I have zero concerns really about what they're trying to do. I want the Regal Farm to continue for years to come. I would rather have a big farm. I do not want a big subdivision there, because you think people are concerned about 70 trips back and forth a day. You get 100 or 200 or 300 houses there, it's gonna be a lot more than that. A lot more noise, all this stuff. So I just wanted to say I'm in support of the project. Any concerns? I didn't know about some of the stuff that happens during the byproducts. Yeah, there's some scary stuff, but I feel like they've been doing this for 10 years. They have other locations. They kind of have a plan, or they don't kind of, they have a plan to keep things going. So just wanted to give my support to the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Bruce Spesser, 2921 Graham. I regret not hearing about the community engagement meeting until this evening. I just have several questions. I hear about a preferred route. Is there a preferred route, and can somebody tell me what that is? I live probably 30 yards off of Beaker, and I'm concerned about any disruption in the quality of life I've come to realize here. If I understood correctly, the manure would just be the manure from the farm. They're not going to bring manure in. So one question for you all is, what is the limiting factor? Is it the manure, or is it the food waste? Another question I have, food waste, is it just a truck full of waste food, or is it food and packaging and then it has to be unpacked on site and then that trash hauled away? Also, the hours of operation, I understand, are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., but the trucks, are they going to be there at the gate at 6, which means they're really on the road from 5:30 to 6:30? I think those are my various questions that I still have, and hopefully you all will be able to answer those to your satisfaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, then I would ask Cameron if you want to bring yourself and the representative from Vanguard back up. I've tried to keep a list of questions, and we'll try to address all of those. I think that would be the appropriate way to do that. So first we'll tackle traffic. From my notes, do you have a preferred route?
Yes. So the preferred route would be for a outbound truck. Let me get my pointer here. Let me kind of go back a little bit here, John. So the preferred route for an outbound truck would be north, proceed north on Beaker Road to South Point Road, all the way to Highway 100 eastbound back to the where most of the products coming from St. Louis area. That's preferred route.
Okay. Where would you, if, and to one of the gentleman's questions, would the trucks be arriving prior to your hours of operation, or are they spanning within that time frame?
Spanning within the time frame. Like I said, most of our trucks will be arriving in the morning, but again, their day starts at 6 when ours would start, so I think the majority of our trucks would see kind of in that 8 to 12 window.
Okay, so 8 to 12.
And just one thing to note, so when we do contract the food waste, we do contract again when they can show up, you know, and what route they're taking, so that is something that we do work out in our contracts with our feedstock haulers.
And the waste food that is brought, there is no packaging or anything like that with that?
So it's a mix. In the tankers, it's liquid, so it can be deposited directly into our hydrolyzer or any other holding tanks on site. Some food is just dumped right out of a truck as if it were garbage. It's not garbage, but it's just, you know, piles of food waste. And then some of it is actually packaged. our organics receiving area on the map here, it has depackaging equipment on it, and then all of that depackaging kind of waste, we either recycle is first option and landfill is our last option.
Is that building enclosed?
Fully enclosed.
Okay. So it's a weather dependent, not weather, it's independent of any weather conditions?
Yep, it's fully enclosed. The biofilter you see outside, which is considerably large, is an odor management system. There's negative air pressure, so air is not going out. And then we do not store anything outside the building either, whether that's food waste or pallets.
Okay. Did you have something, Mayor?
Yeah, if you turn left on V off 100, it's 2 minutes slower, but a lot less going on. And if there's traffic or if it's rush hour, I would recommend staying away from 100 and South Point Road.
But Cameron, didn't you say most of it's going to be opposite direction of the work traffic? Right.
There was a comment made about failure rate and safety. Do you want to talk about anything that might have failed and what safety you have in place, both for smell, noise, well water, and air quality?
Yep, so 2 permits we have to get. We're regulated by the DNR, the Missouri DNR. So we have an air permit, which is again, state monitored permit that allows us to have a threshold of emissions we can produce. These emissions are just natural equipment emissions from boilers, generators, the flare, and we have thresholds on what we're allowed to produce per year per that permit. It has been submitted to the state. It is under review right now, and those guidelines are set forth by the EPA in Title V.
And if you exceed those?
If we exceed those, likely you're shut down, your permit goes back into review, and you're likely not to operate.
Okay, so what about failures? Can you address that?
So some gentlemen mentioned it before. A lot of the failed digesters have older technology. They're called plug flow digesters. A lot of those their failures are actually kind of an overloading, and they're not able to handle the capacity of manure. And typically these are manure-only digesters that have failed. Again, our technology, we feel, is much improved from those systems. We have not experienced any failures on our own digesters. And in the event there are, why we select dairy farms is the sense of redundancy. Their manure can still go to the digestate lagoon. It can still be handled the way it had been handled before. And then, again, if our digester isn't working, if any of the other equipment on site isn't working, we're not going to take deliveries on food waste. So we just won't be operational. On-site safety, again, we'll have ESDs, emergency stop devices, literally big red button. Anyone can press it and it'll shut down the site. There's tons of redundancy. The flare is an emergency flare. It's not supposed to flare. It's an emergency in the event there's too much gas. The gas is off spec. That way we avoid explosions, fires, things like that. There is so much in place to prevent anything bad happening on these sites. And to Cowboy's point, our investors feel that without our kind of safety procedures and the technology, we wouldn't have a project or a business to build here.
And then along those lines, have you or will you be developing a facility safety plan?
Yeah, we'll have one on site.
And
Site
will
specific.
Okay, site specific then?
So it will cover everything that is operational on site. It will have local fire, ambulance, hospital, all that information there. It will have safety plans for muster points and everything you can imagine. So we'll develop that as we get towards operation.
And I'm sure you would involve the local protection agencies in whatever processes you might have going on, so they're fully versed in everything?
Yep.
Okay. What about odor and noise?
Yep, so noise, again, just typical truck noise and machinery. The loudest things here are going to be the compressors on the M&R station for the gas. It's just a humming noise that likely if you're off-site you will not be able to hear. odor, again, where the food waste is received. There is a biofilter that's treating the air in the site, so when it's coming out, there are no odors. And then through the process of the anaerobic digestion, the manure in food waste loses a lot of its odor in the production of the methane gas. So the digestate that comes out has a much reduced odor than, relative to what is on the farm now, which is just liquid manure.
So from the topography of the site, is there any concern for runoff if you had to have pipe break or anything like that, or is there any kind of containment that's there on the site?
The way we designed the site, John, is basically, you can see this large detention basin here. So basically, this will be a curved situation where the stormwater is all, it's gonna drain from the north to the south. So it's gonna drain from the north to the south. You can see that slope limits lines there, so I think the cut up here is the slope limits line right here.
Okay.
So that's a pretty substantial hill right there. So it drains from the north to the south. So there'll be a curb that runs all that stormwater outside the buildings to that detention basin. So in the event, or the facilities management plan would be, heaven forbid something would happen, you could plug the whole new detention basin and whatever's leaking would be stored there. That's the plan.
Okay. And what about buffering from the neighborhood? Is there any plan for any of that? Site buffering?
I mean, the site plan's developed with all the necessary buffers per zoning code.
So I will say to the north, let me go back to the plan here one time here. As Will just said, we're up for the CUP, but as of right now, there's no, because it's a permitted use, right?
Right. That's why I'm asking if you were doing anything over and above what is a permitted use.
So, as you probably know, the Caldwell facility, NBC is the north of it, so you've got a large, conservation district, you might say. That sets up about, let me get my slide here, a much higher elevation. Those dark lines you see there, you can see them, those dark lines are every 5 feet. So every dark line you see there is a 5-foot elevation drop. So where that says 81 right there, AD1, that's anaerobic digester 1. That's probably about a 20-foot cut there, 30-foot cut. So it's gonna be tucked into the hillside, is what it's gonna be.
Okay.
How about well water? We heard a concern about, would there be well water concerns, monitoring, or should there be concerns? And if there's not, why not?
So from at least a operational perspective, we'll have spill containment measures in place. We're grading the site towards the detention basin. The digestate lagoon will be lined. So we're working with the county to understand if that's going to be an HDPE liner or a clay liner, however that may be. So we'll have some buffer there, so that's not leaching into the groundwater. And then the digestate that is spread is an organic, we call it a fertilizer because it's replacing it, but it's an organic material that we are spreading. And there should be very little concerns about that impacting the groundwater and well water. So that's kind of operational and spreading measures we're taking. We're also, another permit we have with the Missouri DNR is our land application permit. It's the LAMP, the Land Application Management Plan. So this is to make sure that what we're spreading is complying with all the rules that the DNR has for solids to be spread on farmland. So that permit will regulate what and where we can spread per year.
The current operations that you have you had any citations with the EPA or for any groundwater problems?
No.
Okay, thank you.
How long have those been in operation? I know technology is evolving, but what's the longest one that you've had, and what's the newest one maybe that you built?
2016 is the longest. We've purchased a few that have been operating since I think 2014. The first one we built was 2016 to build and own and operate. And then the latest one went into operation in 2021. And we're commissioning a plant in Wisconsin this fall. So that will be our next one up and running. And the one in Wisconsin this fall is our representative of this site plan and layout and technology.
Cameron, could you go back to the slide, that site slide that you had that showed the, that one right there. The domed structures to the top left-hand corner.
Yep.
Sorry. What are those two buildings?
So those are the digesters. We're looking at these, and then those two larger tanks. In Massachusetts, the rules are different about storage of liquid solids or manure or food waste. So those are actually tanks holding the digestate instead of a lagoon.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And then the digesters themselves, is that a membrane that's over the top of them?
Yep.
And how is that supported, or is it being supported by the gas?
The gas.
So do you have any facilities that are in tornado-prone areas?
We do. So those are the construction of it, the way it's tied down. It's a dual layer membrane. There's a net underneath, and there's actually a pole supporting it in the front. There's hundreds of thousands of bolts on these. They're also, we do have them, and we have one in Georgia. We have plenty of controls, and it's designed to withstand the weather conditions of the space.
That's what I was wondering, if it's
Yeah.
built to any type of weather
And then,
standards or.
in the event there's gas not being produced, there are blowers in it to keep it supported.
Okay. Okay. I think that answered all of my questions that I had notes on. Did anybody catch anything that I
And
missed?
the only thing I can think of that was discussed was a lot around property value. So I'm not sure if you have any like real estate assessment of any of the places. I mean, it's not really, once again, part of the CUP, but.
Do not.
Okay.
And can I just add one more thing? I know it was brought up. So we did do a phase 1 environmental assessment on the site. We do a wetland delineation. We do floodplain monitoring. And so we've done, and a cultural study as well. So we've done all of the environmental assessments prior to our site design, and that all plays a factor into our civil and stormwater management design of the site. That was brought up earlier.
Yeah, I did a little research, and EPA really does govern and monitor these type of things. It's kind of interesting reading, actually. Any other questions from commissioners?
It may have been in something I don't remember it though. What's your timeline though? Assuming that you get a conditional use permit from the county, what's your timeline to be up and operational?
We'd be looking at a spring construction start. Construction takes about 12 months, and then there's about 3 to 6 months of commissioning. The digester is a living being, so getting the feedstock in and ramping it up. So all in about 18 months from spring 25 is our plan. So we'd be looking at summer of 26 to start the full operation of the plant.
So once you're up and running, I mean, you'll have inspections how often, like once a month or?
It'll depend on our permits. I don't know off the top of my head, but we will have inspections mostly with the DNR.
They are performed by who? Any more than one individual?
It will likely be by the DNR for our air permit and land application permits. And then if there's any routine fire or other safety inspections, we'll make sure we're cooperating with that.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, since the county has asked for any of our recommendations, if we have any, I would entertain a discussion to get your feelings and what we want to do as a commission.
There's a lot to be said. There was a lot that was discussed. I'd say combination of definitely the taxes that are at least coming in to the county. It's not touching our municipality, but very helpful for Franklin County itself. Knowing that diversifies the streams, the revenue streams for Regal is really helpful, especially for the sustainability of the business. Ultimately, looking at their track record, I know we heard some references to other companies throughout the country, but with Vanguard, I mean, it seems, based off of what they have done in the past, that they've been successful. Although it would appear other businesses have not, but they're doing really well. Feel confident that it would make sense to do it.
And I would agree with that. I did quite a bit of research this weekend myself on it, just trying to educate myself. And I really, the 50 extra vehicles a day when you're doing 1,200 a day is minimal compared to having a subdivision go in or something like that out there. I feel that if they're being governed by the EPA and DNR as much as they are, I know in working with those type of agencies, they make sure their Ts are crossed and Is are dotted. And there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes with those agencies that the general public never even knows about, into the detail of the protection that they provide the community. I wouldn't have a problem with recommending to continue or to approve this as myself.
In my research, I've noticed that this has been going on for many years. This is not a new procedure by any means. And also, it's all natural. So I think with all the backup that they've had explained to us, you know, with everything safety-wise, I think that I'm all for it myself, yes.
I echo those thoughts, you guys. From what I can tell, I don't know, I think I should, first of all, thank the Regals for doing your homework. It's been a long time, you and Vanguard talking to one another. We have to do something in this world, you guys. And my concerns of traffic, safety, noise, they were answered in my homework. So I'm for it.
Do you want to list the reasons why that are concerns with traffic, the reliability of the facility, the concerns that were addressed, we think were adequately?
We can do whatever the commission wants. You know, if you want to just do a blanket recommendation that we unanimously approve proceeding with this.
You wonder if they'll take the time to, you know, they're under a time constraint as well. And I think everyone should know that you have that option. Tomorrow night, they're the ones that are actually going to make a decision. And
if we would submit a recommendation, Sarah, do you know what the deadline for that is? Or is it?
It will be tonight.
It would be
Yeah,
tonight?
it will be tonight. Yeah.
So we would have to have them a letter then sent over there by email to?
Yeah, well, I'll respond to her request
Okay.
for our recommendation through email and make sure we have all of our comments, concerns addressed in that email before I leave tonight.
Okay, so we would be able to put a document together based on our discussions tonight?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Does that sound agreeable with everyone?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Can I just ask, do any of you guys live out there?
No, we can't take any more
it
discussions.
has nothing to do with it.
So, I guess then, do we do a vote?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion that we submit or vote on the recommendation that we do recommend this to be built for the county. Don't know how it's worded well, but that.
In support of the special use permit.
There it is.
Because if they didn't have more than 5 employees, we wouldn't even be here talking.
Correct.
The whole
Exactly.
idea of this, it's an allowable use out there. The only reason the county needs a special use permit is because the number of employees went above, 5 or 6 or whatever the number was.
Correct.
6 or more. Mhm.
Is that a second?
So, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we,
Second.
I'm sorry,
She was asking who.
that we approve the conditional use permit?
No,
I'm
we're
sorry.
not approving
Not approving it.
anything.
We
Recommend.
recommend, thank you, Counselor. We recommend that the county continue or implement a conditional use permit at 1740 Beaker Road for the construction of and operation of an anaerobic digester at the Regal Farm. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And that is the last item on the agenda.
No.
So I
We
should-
have one more.
One more.
You have a different agenda.
Sorry.
Do we have?
Are y'all ready to go?
Sneak attack.
We didn't have
You
a
got
revised
you got an
agenda.
email, John. You got an email with the updated agenda?
I don't think I did.
He was
Yes,
doing
you
research
did.
on, he was doing research on
Chris-
another topic,
Okay,
not the off-street
sorry.
parking.
Missed that. Sorry. Item number 8,
His name was on the list.
minimum off-street parking requirement, code revision. Sarah?
Okay, so we added this at the last minute.
Just a second. I would ask the audience to please keep it down. We still have business to conduct yet. Unless you're welcome to stay, but if you don't, you can leave. But please be quiet. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, we sent out a revised agenda, we added this item. We had an applicant that was gonna have a variance hearing this afternoon, this evening at 6 p.m., and they pulled out because we said we were gonna bring this to the commission, the concern of off-street parking for retail use only, just commercial, not any other type of uses, just retail. So I have a little bit of background that I wanna share with you. So we're looking at section 400.265C, where we are requiring a parking space for every 250 square feet of floor area of a retail use, such as Lowe's, as you see there, Schnucks at Washington Crossing, Baumgars at Washington Corners, Ace. It's all the same. There's these shopping centers, they have multiple uses, various sizes. There's no differentiation between whether it's public use in the building or non-public spaces, and we all know that they have non-public spaces in those buildings. So the applicant that wants to build over there in the new shopping complex over there off of Don Avenue pulled their application for variance because they're hoping that the commission and then the council will see that we are overparked and that we need to consider a reduction so that they can come in and bring more commercial to our wonderful town. So I went out this weekend. I mean, I do a lot of shopping. Normally, I do notice a lot of empty
It's
parking
research
spaces.
now, though.
I know. So this past Sunday, I went out there to Phoenix Center, and I just surveyed the areas midday, you know, church is out, time to go shopping, and you can see that these parking lots have filled. And I mean, yes, people will argue that if it is, you know, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, everyone's out shopping, that they might be filled, but I would argue too that a lot of people are at home getting those online deals. So I haven't come out Black Friday just because I choose not to, but I can't imagine that, you know, for that one day, this is, you know, a supported parking lot. Then I looked at different parking minimums in Missouri. Kansas City, of course, is, you know, a big city down the road. They are at 2.5 spaces per gross 1,000 square feet of retail. So if we base it off of a 55,000 square foot retail building, 7,200 square feet is not open to the public. That will come into play here in a minute. But if we just say across the board at 55,000 square feet building, that's 138 spaces. As you can see, we're at the bottom there. I listed that. One space per gross 250 square feet would be 220 spaces at that size. So there's a big difference, almost 100 spaces. Then you go into something smaller like University City, and they break it down into public versus non-public space. And even with their more lenient parking, they have 191 for public space and 7 for non-public space. So again, still less than our 220. Wentzville, I don't go to Wentzville, but I hear it's just a sea of parking. As you can see, 6 spaces per 1,000 square feet, 330 spaces, and I'm sure that they're not getting maxed out. Ellisville, another smaller town, even, you know, a still fairly generous parking standard of 3.5 spaces per 1,000 square foot gross floor area, which is 193 spaces. So we have a mix of sizes, we have a mix of development, and you can see that we're still on the high end, considering our, you know, cities that are in our region. So I did some reading, some research, the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. If you're not familiar with parking standards across the board, we are overparked. They estimate at the minimum we have 3 spaces per car, not per person. We all know that a lot of us have more than one car. Of course, you're not driving more than one car at a time, but we offer across the board in the United States at least 3 spaces per car. And so this oversupply of parking has led to inflated housing costs, just because we have, we spend so much money just taking up land just to lay the concrete down so our cars can park there, obviously contributing to sprawl. And then we got our flooding and our urban heat island effect, so climate comes into this as well. APA, of course, lots of publications out there addressing parking. I did pull out a little blurb about sharing parking, sharing uses, and we do have in the code where we can share parking with things like theaters and bowling alleys, dance halls, those kinds of uses that, they're more in the evening, whereas retail is during the day, so they can share their parking. But I want to argue that when you build a shopping complex, you don't have all those uses determined up front, so you don't know what's coming in. So that's kind of like an after the fact, oh, we built all this parking, but we could have shared it. So that's nice in the code, but not realistic. And then some examples. I just came back from Fayetteville, Arkansas. They were one of the first that said, you know what, commercial parking minimums, we're just gonna get rid of them because we've got a lot of underutilized space and nobody wants to invest in it because we have these parking requirements that are keeping them from putting that investment in there. You can see that Feed and Folly. I actually went to that restaurant and then found that picture later, so I thought that was great. I parked one time when I went down there, and I walked literally the whole town, several blocks, went to that restaurant, had no issue, paid $3 for parking. That car sat there for 4 days. So it's a park once and walk kind of mentality there. And then, of course, bigger cities, obviously they're having to change their ways of thinking because they have a lot of issues with housing. They have a lot of issues with car-centric uses. So San Francisco removed all their minimums without exception, just across the board, not just for commercial, for everything. So now they're 3% of their space in their city is dedicated to parking, and they're ranked one of the highest in walkability, bikeability, and transit friendly places, which I really hope and I believe that that is a goal for Washington, that we are more walkable, bikeable, and one day incorporate some transit. And then Austin is a newbie on the scene. Coming from Texas, I'm actually surprised to see that they've done this because they love their cars out there. It's all about the roads. And they eliminated their minimum parking just because they were just dealing with a housing crisis and they had to do something. So they knew that if they left it up to the developers, rely on the financing. The financing says you gotta have some type of parking, so this is our minimum for your development, and it seems to be working. Instead of having, cities, planning commission say, here's what we think you need, we leave it up to the market, and it's working. And these aren't the only 3 examples, but these are some, obviously, that are working for those towns and improving those cities. So that is all I have right now. I just wanted to open up the discussion to kind of get to a middle ground, maybe make some gross floor area changes where we, say 3 spaces as opposed to 4 per 1,000 square feet, or we subtract and we get a net floor area, because again, a lot of these businesses, like the one coming in, has over 7,000 square feet that they won't be opening up to the public. So requiring them to have parking for those spaces is kind of extra.
Yeah, that's the public to non-public, right?
Right.
That was mentioned, U-City.
Yes, it's storage. Sorry if I didn't clarify. Non-public, people aren't going to be shopping in those areas.
So did you, excuse me, go ahead.
Age before beauty. And that's in writing too.
So did you look at our comp plan at all?
The comp plan,
Because it was, one of the things we talked in there was reducing that kind of thing because of the amount of environmental runoff for these big
Right.
things
So-
and stuff too. Did we have any, I've got it pulled up, but I haven't gotten through in it to find it. But did we have any kind of recommendation in that kind of document there? Or just a general thing that we needed to consider that more?
so I was throwing this together at the last minute. Like I said, I just got back from Arkansas, And so came in, Darren says, hey, why don't you go ahead and present to the commission? So I intend to add more. I didn't delve into the comp plan per se, but I do know that reduction in our amount of concrete, you know, having the street trees, having the bump outs, having more walkable, bikeable areas is definitely part of the comp plan.
Well,
So,
getting the amount of oil runoff from the asphalt,
Yeah.
and, you know, that gets back to, you know, the environmental factors of what Daryl's been working on and stuff
yeah,
too.
our
for the
MS4 standards. Yeah.
Exactly, right. But then at the same time, as you mentioned, it's like, I didn't even go out on Black Friday anymore. I pull up my iPad and sit there. It's like the vast majority of the people in the area, there's still a lot of people that do go out to those things, but the majority, the younger ones, and there's a lot more people anymore. Because again, like you go back to the trash collection, they talk about the number of boxes from Amazon that are coming in all the time. You know, that's all the same with shopping in general and stuff too.
Yes, we are definitely, as consumers, changing our habits, and we can see that. I mean, our parking lots were of a period when that's all you did, you just went to the store, but you have so many other options now. And again, it's just for retail, it's not for doctor's offices, we're not changing it, you know, for theaters or schools or things like that, it's just the shopping.
Would the potential developer in this situation, their variance request would have been met if we would have done the public versus private?
I
think they were still short.
Yeah, they would have still been short.
Still been short?
Yes. I mean, they had a different calculation. They were reducing it by the shelving where you wouldn't have people, things where you couldn't fit people. So they took it a step further, and then yes, it would have met it, more than met it. But I'm just, yeah, it's kind of like, you know, how far do you want to nickel and dime it? I'm of the idea, like, make it simple as possible and stick with gross floor area, but just say we don't need as much parking as we used to need.
I mean, just looking at the other municipalities, so we're at 220 right now, based off that 55,000.
Yeah.
I mean, most other ones are under 200. So, I mean, we'll be able to discuss this more, I imagine, but I would imagine doing something under 200 would be more aligned to the growth and the walkability we've talked about, but just the post-pandemic retail industry.
I think if what we wanted to accomplish tonight was get a feel for the commission. If you guys are open, Sarah can start to look at reducing, come up with some new formulas for us to go ahead and take a look at, and then we'll bring that back to you next month in hopes to go ahead and eventually do a code change.
I can't believe a developer would want to come in and reduce their parking so much that it would become a burden on their business.
Right.
You know, that you couldn't get a place to
Right.
park, so nobody would attend, you know, I mean, or go into that store. It may look more full because they have less parking, but I don't think they would ever get to the point, unless it became cost prohibitive, where it would be deterrent to their business.
Well, just a reminder, downtown, your C3 zoning district, you do not have off-street parking. It's up to the developer.
You won't matter.
We've experienced redevelopment down there. We've seen what happens. The developer knows what they have to do to go ahead and meet what the market needs are. Do we have some problems and have more discussions about public parking? Oh, yeah. And we've always said, when we get to that point, we've succeeded, you know, because then you've got a legitimate, you know, problem. You got enough demand down there to go ahead and talk about it. So I think there's ways that we can do it. I mean, MS4 comes into this as well, as Sarah was talking about. I mean, that's all of those things. If we reduce that, that also, we can provide that to DNR to go ahead and show them. As a matter of fact, they're coming in for another audit next month. And so this is just another feather in our cap to sit there and say, hey, we're taking a look at this as well and coming up with some alternatives.
Yeah, I think we need to make some changes. I'm just not sure what that mix is exactly without more research.
And we weren't doing this, Sarah just came to me because of the situation for this one retailer that came in. I mean, this is an ongoing topic, as you see, and this started a few years ago before online shopping was such a big, they were already talking about reducing it. Now that's even brought the need for it, you know,
Right.
it's become a bigger issue.
Right.
So do you have enough direction to proceed till next month?
We'll give you something.
Okay.
I have faith in her.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else? I don't see anything else on my agenda. Is there anything else?
Anyone else's agenda?
Fine job, Mr. Chairman, tonight.
Right.
If not,
I'll make a no motion to adjourn.
Second.
and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Good one.
Meeting adjourned.
Nice job, John.
Just whispering
Reminders. That's always, I mean,
Oh, and it wasn't doing it then? Oh. Well, then bring it up at NOC.
Heads up.
How are you, sir? I saw you. I was like, I've been good. I was like, I haven't seen him in a while. It's been a while. How you been?
Valuation of property.